So welcome to, we're calling this The Plug. This is our weekly YouTube show podcast, and we want to make things a little bit different. There's a lot of podcasts out there at the moment, a lot of podcasts that talk about the races, talk about what happened, speculate what happened next. We're going to do that, but we want to make it different. We're not here to save motocross, we're not here to talk shit on what happened on the weekend or say how crap everything is. That's not what the show's about. Don't get me wrong, Neil might want to rant and rave about some topic that we come up with, but that's not what the show's about. What our show is three dudes who live for motocross, lifelong fans of motocross, and we just want to talk about motocross. We're going to come up with topics, and basically what we're going to debate a specific topic every week and come up with something that we think is interesting and fun and talk about it. So we've got three dudes here of different generations, and we'll all have different ideas, I think, on certain topics. So let's introduce my co-hosts. Nev, introduce Neil, and Neil introduce Nev.
So we've got Neil Prince here. Neil's quite a cool guy. I've raced against Neil and I've ridden for Neil. And also,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you raced against him.
Yeah,
he's beaten me a few times. I remember it quite well.
Neil Prince here, rubbed bars at a few supercrosses, that's for sure. So it's cool to have Neil here. You know, like he's been on both sides of it, running a team and riding himself, and still been involved in it to this day. So it's quite cool to have his opinion here and see and just have a chat. You know.
And you failed to mention former British 125 champion. Of course, so we should say 25 years ago.
Yeah, 25 years ago. Yeah, makes me feel really old, very old.
But and obviously, multi-time manager of Team Great Britain. Was it 5?
Yeah, 5 years. 5 years. Yep, did that.
Safe to say you've got some knowledge and experience then.
A little bit. I try and help.
So he's our wise man in the corner there. Now your turn to introduce Nev.
Got Neville Bradshaw, fantastic MX2 rider, great guy. Trains hard, trains properly, like people should do nowadays. And also many times MX Nationals champion. Oh no, Red Bull champion many times. Yeah. If I'm right in saying you were probably one of the most top 3 guys in MX2 championship for many years, 5-6 years on the trot.
5 or 6 years, he was top 3 most of the time.
Yeah, people forget that, and that's against likes of like Osborne. Tonos was there back in them days. Who else was there them days?
Yeah, they were quite stacked in those days. I remember like 08 and stuff, like looking at the start list, and there was like 13, 14 GP riders.
It's weird looking
like,
back at the start list.
Unbelievable,
back then, isn't it?
Unreal. And like you'd literally sit and think, oh, like top 15 is going to be gnarly here, but you know, as the racing starts, everything kind of pans out differently. And but no, it is crazy. Like the people we've had racing in England, you know, like if you look back over the last 10 or 15 years, like the names.
We've had actually been top guys out over here. Like the first British Championship I ever went to, I think it was Josh Coppins.
Yeah.
And I was just amazed to see Josh Coppins here. I was like, this is awesome. Cass Honda.
Yeah, and you get that. Like Neville says, back in them days, you go back to when them MX2 guys were prime. Like they'd come back to the UK series, race against you, and you'd give them quite a big shock at a lot of races, which is like a credit to you, really. And Neville Bradshaw.
And also, obviously, the most viral rider going at the moment, aren't you? Millions of hits on YouTube. The two-stroke hero. You still get asked about that a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I know. It was good times there. That whole two-stroke series was pretty cool, and you know, still just riding two-strokes in general is awesome. You know, like I always get the thing. Obviously, now I'm riding 4-strokes at the minute. With the deal I've got going this year, but still my favourite is 2-strokes, and but it's always like I like 2-strokes and I like 4-strokes. I like riding dirt bikes in general.
Dirt bikes,
I'm not one of those guys that is like, 4-strokes are shit, or I just like riding dirt bikes, but I particularly like riding 2-strokes.
Yeah.
You know, so
like, I don't think I've ever met a person that likes riding bikes as much as you. Like on a good day, like on a bad day, you're like, oh, this is shit. Let's pack it in. But like on a good day, like I can't remember where we was at, like Milnell, when you rode my Suzuki.
Yeah.
And you was like, this is sick. Like this is fun. Let's just carry on. Like you could tell that you just loved it.
I think it's something that goes like a long way back, you know, like when you're a kid, you know, and you have stress going on or whatever, like say school's not going good or you've got issues with your family or whatever it is, like one thing you could always go to was riding your bike, you know. And I think even like, what is it, like 20 years later, it's still the same thing, you know, like obviously now like we're all grown up, we've got families, we've got responsibilities, but still, you know, to get back to that thing that was probably like your first ever love.
Yeah.
You know.
It just takes you back to like a safe place, isn't it? Like, even though it's like the most dangerous thing going, it's like you take it back and you're like, yeah, this is me, this is what I do, this is what I know. Like,
it's hard not to get frustrated with it, you know, like sometimes when you go riding and you're like not the fastest guy at the track anymore and you're like pushing hard to be still, you just got to accept, you know, like everyone's got their time and your time's kind of
Especially
gone.
the level that you was at as well when you were that everywhere you went, you was like, I have to be the fastest, I have to be number one. Like pulling back from that now, it's kind of hard to break out.
Yeah, it's this.
Do you still have that when you go to the track now?
I was going to try and get in there and say that, you know, like that's one thing. Even as a racer now, and I generally believe that everyone who rides a bike, if they do their local racing, wherever, when you go to the track, you kind of have this this feeling of you want to go there and be the quickest person.
Yeah.
And I think if someone says, I don't really have that, for sure they do. They just, you kind of got to admit where your limits are and where your speed is at. But, you know, if you go to a track, you want to go the quickest you can go and obviously think, how am I going today? And you're obviously, you know, I can go to the track ride with Neville now and he's going to be like 10, 12 seconds a lap quicker than me a lap. But I'll still go there thinking, see how I go. You know, and every rider, that is one of the hardest things to lose. And I think, you know, it takes time to lose that. And I would say even now, you know, I did a bit of EVA racing last year and stuff, and you still go there.
Yeah, even on
when the gate drops, you think, right, let's have it, you know, and it's hard to lose that. And I think when you lose that, then maybe you kind of won't ride anymore at all. I don't think really.
But I think you have to, like you saying that, like I think you had to have that to be like successful, like you were, you know, like still, like obviously every time you went to the track, it was like if somebody was quicker, it would make you mad, and you know, step it up, find what you needed to change to do it.
That's what makes a racer a racer.
Exactly, you know, like...
I agree. But I think also, it's also back in them days when I was racing, or, you know, like you're still racing now, some days you've got to... One thing I've learned working with a lot of riders over the years is, if you go to a track and you're having that problem where you're actually not where you wanted to be, or you didn't have the result, you've got to look back at how you get there and how your preparation is, and a lot of stuff plays a part in how your mind's working that day. If you know me, as a racer, like if I could go back in time to when I was a racer, there was lots of mistakes I made, and like it's easy for me to look up now and go, I could have done this, could have done that better. That's gone, done with, you know. And I think that's what a lot of kids nowadays, or even me and Neville, we still have that problem where we'll go racing some days and we'll not have I don't really race anymore, but Neville does. You go and race and you go home and you think, hold on, I should have done this, should have done that, and it will help with your results. And I think back when I was racing, I never really stood back and actually looked that much on the results.
You're too like within yourself, aren't you? You're too like locked up in your own head. Yeah,
and you're kind of in that world of where, you know, I can go home, go riding with Joel, say tomorrow on the bike, and we'll go home and Joel will be like, very rare, but it'll be, I didn't quite feel right today. And I go, but maybe if we just changed the suspension a little bit or ran a slightly different tyre, would have made the day completely different.
Is that something that you quite enjoy? Like with Bobby last year, with Joel this year, kind of like being that kind of mentor and helping them through that side? Is that something you take?
I enjoy it. I think sometimes, you know, like, you know, I kind of look and try and put bits together. Do you know what I mean? And think, right, okay, you know, if say you went to the race at the weekend, you were tired, I'd kind of go, maybe you shouldn't have been riding 4 times on Thursday, like 4 motos on a Thursday. Maybe you should have done 2 and then rested up for the weekend. So that type of stuff I kind of look at. And with the bike, for sure, when I was racing, Neville's probably still got a bit now, where you get so caught in the racing, you actually don't stand back and try and evaluate how it went the weekend and try and put some of the stuff right to make the weekend easier.
Yeah, you kind of get stuck in that. Race, train, and you don't step back and like, what do we change in training to make the race better? That's it.
And sometimes you can be hard on yourself, where you'll try harder, you'll think, right, I've got to train more, when realistically it could have been you're actually training too much, you know, or you're not looking at your bike setup too much. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So I think overall you've got to look at all the little bits of the jigsaw, and then we'll help you at the weekend.
I think having someone like Neil is like to a team is like a massive, you know, like if you can get a rider that trusts the stuff you're saying, you know, because a lot of riders are quite hard-headed, but like Neil's been there, he's done it, he knows how stuff works, you know, he knows when you're tired. Like if you can actually like have someone like Neil working with you and like 100% trust and listen to what, because they've gone through it, you know. Even I've gone through it and I'm still making mistakes now with the racing I'm doing, you know. Like I made a big mistake the other day and I knew exactly what I'd done wrong and I still did it, where I think Neil's a little bit past that, you know, like if he's working with someone, like, you can't buy experience, you know, like those, and racing is racing, like racing 10, 15 years ago and racing now, you're still racing dirt bikes around the track, you know, so the fundamentals haven't changed much. And so I think, you know, like for Joel example, you know, like if he works with Neil correctly, listens to him and actually like does listen, that's the hardest thing, is to actually,
especially a kid that young, but Joel seems quite
he's good, like very good, very good.
You know, like if you can like use that and like, you know, take what you've learned in your career, listen to what you're saying and put that into work, you know, I think like anyone, like example in Joel's position, that's, you know, going to be like one of England's next top riders, future in GPs and stuff, like if you can have someone bringing you along like that, it just makes you make a lot less mistakes on your path through to where you kind of want to be in the end. You know, like you don't see a lot, you know, like in America, Europe, like especially Europe, like you go to Spain, all those young riders coming through, they've got coaches, they got mechanics, you know, they've got like a big group of people that are bringing them along. I think it's, you know, people living here should maybe look into that a bit more, you know, like let people with experience bring help.
I noticed that with Bobby last year, actually. I noticed how he listened to you and he like really valued everything that you had to say. Like even like at Arena Cross, like because he's never done it before. And obviously,
no, definitely not.
You're a Supercross champion, like he just, like you said, racing's racing. Like Arena Cross is a lot different to when you raced it, but essentially it's still the same racing wise.
Yeah.
So like just him asking you everything about Arena Cross and asking you what you should do, I was like, oh yeah, he's been racing GPs for 10 years at the top, but he's still got stuff to learn.
And also I think looking in, like Neil can look in and he's still, you know, like he was at that level and he's still got an eye for it, you know, and you can see stuff that the normal person can't see, like bike setup, different lines, you know, and like I learned a lot from Neil. The year I rode for, or the 2 years I rode for, a year and a half I rode for you, he's like you said earlier, is how to like, if there is a problem, right, there is a problem, but you got to sit back and say what the problem was, you know. And sometimes pushing forward and working isn't going to solve you. Sometimes you have to take a step back and let the things come in, you know. But it's...
Well, at the end of the day, you know, like... and it was hard for me to kind of understand this even when I was racing, is you're there to ride bikes. So, you know, I was riding when I was 5.5. And probably you started at a young age as well.
Yeah.
And you, Max, as well. And what people don't understand is that's the fun part. So basically, you know, if you can put the right amount of training in and be rested up, then when you go riding at the weekend, that should be the enjoyable part, getting on the bike and riding it. Where a lot of riders now, not necessarily too many of them, but you know, if you have a bad day, you need to look at the bits and pieces, try and work out what was wrong, what was maybe right from the weekend, put them bits together and improve on the bits you thought were wrong, and then hopefully the next weekend it will kind of make it smoother. You know, and I think it was Jamie Dobbs said to me quite a few years ago, or a long time, I think roughly when he won his World Championship, he said that he made his weeks absolutely hell with his training, his riding. Then he said the weekends were like an easy day because it was like a day off. And it's not similar to putting the week in the right order, doing all your right training, all your right practicing. Then the weekend should be the easy part, where a lot of riders maybe don't do much all week. Then when they come the weekend,
and that's work day,
it's like feels like it's work when really all the pieces should be easiest day of the week. That's
what we were saying earlier. We use this as a transition into the Supercross, and we'll just talk about that for a bit. Like we were saying earlier, when Osborne was racing the 250s, and he was at Baker's factory with all the 450 guys, and his week was hell because he was just getting hammered every day by the best Supercross riders in the world. But he'd get to the weekend, race the 250 guys, and it'd be a breeze. Because like he's putting the work in the week against the best guys in the world, and he gets there and he's like...
That's a win-win situation for everyone involved there, dude. Like, you know, if you can go there, you know, like it must be quite hard keeping it kind of amicable there with, you know, like so many good athletes together. But if you can work together, man, it's almost an unbeatable... Like if you're riding at that intensity every day of the week, it's going to be, you know, like you sharp every single day. Like I think it does bring your career down a little bit to ride like that all the time, but...
Well, like length, like
length, like
endurance,
you know, that intensity riding a motorbike and every day scheduled, you know, like that must be quite gnarly. But the results are there, you know, the results speak for themselves. You know, those guys that have been on that program, every single person that goes on and seems to do.
I heard an argument saying like, it's all well and good, like do that program, do it, ride with the best guys in the world, like pre-season. But once the gate drops at Anaheim, like this person, I think it was Daniel Blair, saying once gate drops. like I want to be on my own. I don't want him to see what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Do you think that's a good mentality to have, or do you think you carry on what you've been doing?
I don't know. Like, I think, like, looking at what those guys do, I think it works, you know. Like, I think if everyone is putting 100% into the practice track, that's the thing you got to watch, you know. Like, obviously, it gets monitored, but, you know, I guess you could, like, not put 100% and then the guy thinks he's quick and then go on a weekend and do better. But I think if everyone kind of uses each other properly there, it's like racing every day.
But you find, like, a lot of guys, like, it's a funny story about America. I went to, what's it called? Milestone. It's the one in the valley. Went there and we were watching a track. Tomac was there. I'm pretty sure Tomac was there that day. There was quite a lot of the not Rockstar, the Yamaha guys. You know,
the Yamaha
Yamaha guys were there. And there was one kid there beating everybody. And his name, I'm trying to think of his name now, but I saw him. And
what year was this?
Well, they called him the Milestone Assassin.
Nick Schmidt.
Nick Schmidt. And I watched and I thought, my good God, the dude's going to win at Anaheim. That's what I watched. Yeah. I actually, I know a bit more to not think he's going to do that, but I watched him on Milestone. If you was watching at
Milestone that day, you'd have thought, that's A1 winner right there.
Yeah. And I went to Anaheim, and Graham was with me, I think. I went out there with Graham, Luke Burton, and some other people, and we were watching, and I think he struggled to qualify. And then the next week, we were back at the Milestone, and there, no one could touch him around there.
I remember this.
And it just gives you an example
of 4 or 5 years ago, when the Marcel Assassin,
a good practice, someone who practices well, maybe doesn't race, and then we come on to the Baker's factory place. Fantastic, like we were chatting before we come in about the routine, and people need that, and some people will go there, take the ideas from that and take it away and do their own type of training. Like Baggett's been there, Roxton's been there, so all them people, I think they've been there, seen what happens. Maybe the routine's too much for them, then they've gone away from it. But this is what I say to riders, like, say Neville goes out riding, and I say I'm out riding with Neville, I'm quicker than Neville. It ain't going to happen, but I can talk about it as if it's going to happen. And then we go to the track. Like, there's another way to look at it when a rider's faster than you that day. Like, if Osborne, now he's on 450s at the track, and say you've got Musquin, you've got Cooper Webb there, and he's keeping the same speed, or they're pulling a little bit, vice versa, he's pulling away from them. Like, there's nothing better than actually pulling over and actually watching what they're doing different, because they're going to be the same level of fitness like all three of them guys. There might be little differences, but they're all mega riders, and they know how to ride a bike. So if they pull over and watch what they're doing, they're learning, and vice versa. If Osborne goes out and he's beating them, then Musquin, and it's kind of learning from everybody. And I think that's what a lot of riders also, when you go to the practice track, or there's a rider there faster than you that day, some days, instead of looking and going, God, he's quicker than me, he's pulling like a second, and you try harder and it's getting even harder, maybe you just pull over, watch and go, he's getting half a second, he's getting a second there.
Yeah, people that don't do that. I don't do that. I've never done that.
Don't do that at all.
Just try harder and you crash and make a mistake. Yeah.
I always found the best way for me, or the best scenario for me, was if I 2 or 3 years, I can remember having really fast teammates, and then they're really fast on practice, but then when it got to racing, they'd lose a second, 2 seconds a lap when they got to racing, obviously through mental stuff. But I remember with DB Honda one year, there's a kid over from New Zealand. Remember Michael Phillips?
I remember, yeah.
And he was so fast practicing, dude. And obviously, as we said earlier, the first person to beat your teammate. So every time we go riding, it was like a race, 100% full effort all the time. And then that year was really good racing wise as well, because you're practicing at such a high level. When you get to race, nothing really changes, Whereas if you're not pushing yourself during the week, I don't think it's hard to push it's harder to push on the weekends, And same as another year I had James Harrison as a teammate, probably one of England's most talented riders I've ever seen, they kick and ride a bike naturally. When they ride in their environment, they're comfortable, they pick up stuff good, they ride a bike good, they choose good lines. And he was another one, obviously I was getting a little bit older, I was probably 27, 28, and he was 18, 17 coming through. And I used that also. We used to train together quite a bit, and he'd always be fast. So I think if you've got someone to pace yourself during the week that's quick, it just keeps your intensity up. It's very easy to go to 80% and just do your motos. You actually teaching yourself to be slow, because then to make that jump.
That's your natural, your kind of base pace then, isn't it? But if your base pace is 110%, then
And just imagine that every day of the week that those guys do. So I think it's...
So let's just talk about Supercross then. you've been keeping up this year watching. Cooper Webb is just like,
who doesn't?
yeah. Like it's just
the first thing I do every Sunday morning. Roll over, get my phone, go in daily motion. And watch the 2 main events. That's the first thing
That's literally the first thing you do. Like, keep off Twitter, keep off everything.
Just hope you don't see. I made a mistake of watching the 450s first, and then all mates Cinderella won the 250.
Cheers, then.
Yeah, no, I think it's been an awesome series. You know, like it's so cool to see someone like Cooper Webb. You know, like he had those two years when you're struggling.
Really
you know, it's very easy to keep going that way. You know,
keep that trajectory down.
It takes like a good athlete and like a strong crew around you to bring that back. So it's cool to see him step it up. Roxon has just been steady. You know, like I think I've been kind of waiting for him to go on a win streak. You know, like after the first couple of races, it looked like he was going to win one, and he'd be kind of running away with it. But
he seems to be like. I've been watching that Red Bull Moto Spy series, and the last episode was about that race with Cooper Webb when he lost it in the last foot of the track.
Yeah.
And it seems since then, like, the wind's just kind of blown out of his sails. Like, even in that video, you'd see, like, afterwards how, like, defeated he was.
Yeah.
Like, he was that close to win. He was on the roll, getting closer and closer to win, and then it just got taken away from them.
It is crazy how I think life and your whole vibe and your whole aura is like that. I think when things are going good for you, like, all the things fall your way. Like that race, literally, what was it, 0.023 of a second fell his way.
Yeah.
That when he passed Tomac on the weekend, that could have been like a DNF. Like if they went wrong, and he managed to pass one of the quickest guys in the world. You know, like when things are rolling for you, your vibe's good. Just I think Webb's got that whole and even like. You know, like the thing I'm most impressed about him is like you'll see through halfway through the race and he'll start going like backwards a little bit. You think, he's done.
Yeah.
And then he puts a charge in, he comes back on him, you know. So that shows he's fit, he's hungry, he's not willing to just like let them go. He'll try, like even if it's just mentally, to let them know that he can run the speed. You know,
I thought on the weekend he did that. He went backwards and he pulled back on Tomac and he made that the sketchiest pass you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And I think he made that pass and he came onto the back of the front two, and then it felt like he kind of just like, right, I've had that moment now, let's calm down.
I think the energy to get back as well, eh? Like when you got to make like, 4 seconds on a guy like who is leading Musquin. To catch that gap up, you use a lot of energy, and then like to pass a guy like that takes a lot of energy, you know. So I think that, and then
third, he doesn't need to win it though, does he? Third's good in the position he's in at the moment.
It is like everyone was kind of like, everyone's so close, but now it's getting to the point where the season every week you're getting a race closer to the season ending. You know, like someone has to start. And then you see like a few guys like now, Roxon's had 2 bad weekends. Tomac didn't have a good weekend.
You
know, like I think this time of the year is when the race starts almost. You know, the consistent guys like Musquin, I think he's going to be.
Yeah, he seems to be coming into his own now.
But I think also with this Supercross series, like, dude, it's the first time in years you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, you like come every week. Yeah, that's what,
so
especially the first part of the season, there was like 5 red plate holders in 6 races or something like that. And you're like, that is absolutely awesome. A few years ago when Villapota was winning everything, you would have killed for that, right? It's so exciting. And that race, the close race between Webb and Roxon, like, growing up, that was a dream race, right? That's the race you're going to show your mates that don't know about motocross. Like, watch that race, and then we found some motocross.
That defines like Supercross races, doesn't it? It was pretty cool. And then also like what I think is cool about it is how many rookies are there. Like Savachi going quickest in practice, Osborne having a good race. I for sure think if Zach didn't have that injury, Zach would be running. He'd be top 5 in that group every weekend. You know. He's been on that solid program for so. I think Zach will be like a top 3 guy.
Did you see that Plessinger crash at Daytona? That was nasty.
Filthy,
it's a shame. I think he's absolutely awesome. Plessinger. I think he's like, we always talking about personalities. I think he's such a good personality. I think he's so funny. Like when he turned up to Nations with that haircut. That's sick.
Yeah, no, fair play. But, you know, the sport, like back, if you go back 10, 15 years, a lot of people, like McGrath had different hair every weekend. Emig was like a party guy. Like there's a lot of different like
sports changed a lot.
Mark Healy in the GPs. There was people, and you draw to people like that. You know, like that seems it went very like, what's the word, like corporate.
Yeah,
you know, for the lot. It's cool to see someone step out the norm a little bit. And
I think we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about who our greatest races are, because I think you'll have a different view on that to me and to Neil as well.
But I think with the Supercross, like, it's been interesting this year. Like, Cooper Webb has come in healthy. People forget that he's had two years of injury. Like he for sure can ride the bike. There's no question. And when he's not
When you
been
look back to his
injured,
250 career, it was
and he
pretty
showed
dominant.
and he showed good potential on the 450. Just he got injured. So people forget that when you get injured, it takes a lot of time to get back. And he's had a good program through the winter. He's got one of the best teams. And everything's coming for him. Like, it's no surprise the way he's riding the bike. For me, it isn't. Like, you know, he can ride the bike and he's hungry. Like, he wants to win every
you
race.
can tell he's hungry.
And he's fit this year. The one for me, which is really, I don't understand, is Tomac. Like, you know, the bike for sure is going to be good. Kawasaki make good bikes. You know, that bike for sure has not got any problem with money being thrown at it.
Yep.
Getting it as good as it can be. But the weekend, Daytona...
Tomac was Tomac, what he can do, isn't it? Like,
it was, but if you go back to Tomac, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, when he was on a Geico Honda, it was something special.
Yeah, he was gone.
And that wasn't Daytona last week for Tomac. Was nothing really. He won, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it wasn't good, but I'm just saying, like, if it was Tomac, he'd be just gone, and he wasn't. And I think the weekend, he's either got some problem or he's getting pumped up for some reason or something. You know, people keep saying, you know, his head goes down if he gets overtaken. I don't see that. It looked like the weekend something is wrong, and whatever's wrong, he needs to sort it quickly.
Yeah.
You know, and because like Musquin is getting stronger, Cooper Webb's strong. Baggett, I think's awesome this year. It's nice to see him up there. He's good, fit rider. You know, if he hadn't have had that DNF 3-4 rounds ago when he crashed and didn't start, you know, crashed out the main, for sure he would have been closer in the points as well. And Ken, I don't really know. Like at the weekend, he started 8th and he finished 8th, if I'm correct, from the start.
Much.
You know, he's obviously maybe struggling with the tracks because let's be fair as well. If Cooper Webb hadn't made the mistake and landed on the bail, he might have took a few more laps to get past Tomac.
Yeah.
You know, because the tracks, I think I watched, not Daytona, the week before Daytona, so I don't remember where it was, but there was really no passing. I think Musquin caught up to Cooper Webb like 3 or 4 times, ran into him in places. And I think if we watch the race again, there was no physical place to overtake on that track.
I think he's got a straight line, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Webb does. Like when someone's going, you just got a straight line, single a jump and then go again. I think that's the only way.
An aggressive pass.
Yeah.
Because there's no room for passing, I think, at
the
the minute
guys
on the
are
track.
so close as well in speed.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like you watch qualifying, what is it, like a second, the top 12 guys are a second.
Yeah.
So you think when they're racing, there's no... Everyone's it's like
there's
a train
no one,
almost, isn't it? Yeah.
Or they need to make bigger whoops, or they need to make something to kind of separate the riders from the other riders. You know, because at the weekend, I've got to mention him, was Chad Reed. Like, you know, I think he must have crashed or made a mistake the first lap. He was last on the timing screen, come all the way up to 10th. So I would say if anyone, you know, you could say, the guys from 20th to 10th aren't the best riders, but for sure, he overtook the most people in that race. So credit to him, really.
He's been awesome this year, dude. Like even like when you like in a game, like Webb coming back from where he was last year when he was riding in Husqvarna last year, I thought that was him done.
Yeah,
really, I couldn't believe that he was going to go another year, and dude, he has been absolutely awesome.
The
this
one
year.
thing from like social media, it just looks like he's enjoying it. Like with that team,
like
just
the fire's back to me. I think like you know when you can see someone's hungry. Like sometimes you can see people just riding around, but he's like. Even like I watched the heat race in the weekend and like you see him like 4 seconds back and then you expect it and he's there the whole way. Finishes 4 seconds behind, you know. Yeah. And then at the start of the year I think he was doing like the heat races good and then he seemed to like do the first 10 laps good and then struggle a bit. But dude, whatever he's done now, like he's just... And also I think there's a confidence thing. Like he had that race 2 or 3 weeks ago.
You're on a podium.
And I think it like sparked his confidence again. And
give him Tomac start the weekend. And for sure he's not going back 10 seconds.
For sure he's on the podium.
It ain't happening.
And then I think also with like where he's got like a lot of young people in their team he's riding for during the week, it must be a good vibe, you know, like it's so cool to see. I think it's, you know...
It's one of the coolest stories in
Supercross
Motocross. I think the Chad Reed kind of his whole career. Like I was watching last night, popped up on YouTube the behind the scenes of the Reed Stewart battle from 2009 to 2011. It was just like watching back at the things that dude's done and like who he's racing. He's like,
he's awesome. Dude.
Yeah, that's sick.
And I can appreciate that at like 35, 36 now watching. You know, I'm still riding and watching him do that against like the best guys in the world.
18-year-olds,
it's so cool.
And he's still got the technique to like go out there and ride do stuff they're doing
I
and
think
not
he's
even
still like one
thinking
of the
about it.
fastest guys in the world.
Yeah.
His
Oh,
whoop
yeah.
speed is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's the only one who says if there's big whoops, he's happy
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it. How
yeah.
many actually say that, is there?
And also, like, you know, even, you know, like I know a lot of people question when he went on the team and stuff, but even for the team's sake, like how much experience the guy has at getting a bike set up properly, you know, that goes a long way. You know, like you can go complete, like as you know, you can go completely wrong way on a bike if you go.
The teammates are young kids as well, like
Yeah, that's what I'm saying for those
guys.
young kids coming through, like, and having him around, like he's got his good vibe going now. Like even that kid number 55, what's his name? He's doing really good.
Carl Peters.
You know, like having a guy like Reed with experience, and you can see they interact on social media. He's obviously when they go riding during the week, you know, like it's bringing the whole team along.
Yeah.
Having an older guy on the team is bringing the whole team along with him. So,
But he's still the best rider in the team as well.
hey, he's like,
You know what I mean? Like,
Justin Hill's meant to be the man, you know, and Reed, I think he's beating him every single time pretty much.
He's not performed at all. I think he's had 1/7 at Daytona.
Experience, like, you know, and even when he's having a bad day, like he can still finish 11th on experience. Like the weekend, bad start or he crashed or whatever, and the guy still comes back, passes Cole Seeley, factory Honda rider on the last lap.
Yeah.
That's experience. That's hunger. Like it's easy to just, like the difference between 12th and 11th isn't that much, but the dude wants to finish 11th, you know, which is quite cool to see.
Yeah,
Just
I totally agree.
It's just awesome to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you see the James Stewart finally posted something on Instagram?
Yeah, I didn't quite get it.
He's going to do a story, I think,
dropping
soon.
some full-length video.
Do you think that's him quitting or?
I think that's him like officially saying, yeah, I'm done.
He's done. Oh,
I
okay.
think so.
I was kind of thinking, was he coming back to do the outdoors or something like that?
Well, that would be sick if he could. Like watching, I was again watching that video last night. Like watching James Stewart ride was like, when it was happening, you didn't appreciate it enough.
Yeah.
Like looking back now, you just watch the guy on the bike, you're like, holy shit!
Dude,
Like that dude had.
I spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos, and I love watching the old stuff. And like, it's like when people bash James Stewart, and you go back to those 2004 videos on a 125, man, he changed the game, dude.
He did.
Well, let's save this for later. Let's save this for later because like when I was like 2003, 2004, I was coming up, starting racing motocross, and he was the guy. He was the guy that all me and my friends were like, he's the best in the world. Like we want to be James Stewart. We all want to ride like him. And you look at the GPs now, like every kid wants to ride like James Stewart did in 2004.
Or maybe he's going to come back and do like maybe a bit of a tour, do some riding. I keep thinking, hopefully he's going to come back riding.
Yeah.
Or he's going to, you know, there's going to be a picture of him in shape, riding his bike, and like for sure people would go nuts, like be really happy to see that.
Yeah.
But it's whether, you know, the other thing is with James, and you know, you're mindful, like as a racer, he wants to come back and probably be winning. So to come back and look at the level of the field at the minute, that's like a massive task.
From what you were saying,
run through that.
Going back to earlier when you were saying when you go to track, you want to be the fastest there.
Yeah.
You're James Stewart in 2009. You are called the fastest man in the world.
Yeah.
And you think every time you go to a track, you have to be the fastest man in the world. Like
but
you must not go to a track and. It must be hard just to go and have fun. Like if you've got to try and be the fastest man in the world.
I think those last couple of years like really hurt the guy, you know, like because he was so much better.
Yeah.
And then he had those couple of years when he was, you know,
kept
that
crashing.
last year was, you know, for his standards was bad, you know. And like even like now, I did a race the other day and it was horrendous. And like it's still, dude, it's like breaking up with your wife or something. It was that bad. Like I still get, and for sure it's the same for him, you know. But even at a much higher level than what I'm doing, you know. So like, I think like when the fun. You know, with that amount of pressure, as you say, behind him being, it must be hard to like go to any level from that, you know.
But he's probably just, how can I say, like he had 2 years off, like he had that suspension for 16 months, wasn't it? From you know
thing.
whatever. That's another story. But whichever way, you know, it's kind of finished his career, and it's the same with Paul Brock Tickle at the minute.
Yeah.
He just wants an answer. You know, surely. Nowadays, you can get an answer about stuff. It should be simple.
It's with the emails, and it's not like they've got to send a letter from
it's just
Europe to America or something. Then it takes 6 months by boat. It's like I'll just send the guy an email.
It's not normal. You know, when you've got a road racer in MotoGP touches someone's front brake, if I remember, and he nearly goes over the bars. The other guy, he had an answer the next day.
He's racing the next year.
Next day, he got an answer. Where, you know, like with Stewart, you know, the biggest thing was when he come back. I generally believe, like, and he did show signs of some speed, like when he clipped Dungey the first race.
Yeah.
You forget he was battling for, like, Anderson for the lead of the race.
Yeah.
I know it was a second or third lap, but, you know, there's not many riders can actually go to a race after 2 years and do that.
Or put a heater in.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And he could still put heaters in.
He's the man that could put heater in.
And, you know, them 2 years
was.
probably, it wasn't 2 years, but 16 months probably that kind of
You can't lose that amount of time.
can't come back from that. Yeah.
I reckon it takes another 6-7 months to come back just from that time you fed off.
Yeah.
Riding all the time like they do, even, you know.
Yeah, because it's pretty much non-stop, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you're not injured, it's non-stop.
It's every day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Maybe 2 days off.
Let's move on to closer to home and let's talk about the British Championship for a little bit. You was at Fat Cats for round 1 a couple of weeks ago. You weren't, lucky you. Not because it was a bad event, because it was cold and raining. But, there's been a lot of online chatter about Fat Cats, the round 1 of the championship. A lot of negative online chatter and
Like what? I'm not online that much.
oh yeah, he's old. He's not online.
I don't even know.
People saying that the event, there's no one there watching, that the event wasn't up to par, and a lot of negativity about it. But I read an article by Sutty from DBR, it was online last week, and he kind of counted all of those points. Like it wasn't that busy with crowd and stuff, and it felt like a slog that day. But it was cold, it was raining, it was March in England. You can't really combat that. Well, I know what your thoughts on the day were. You was there.
Well, my thoughts were my family come and we took the caravan, so we parked quite a long way away from where the truck was. We were parked in the spectators kind of area. And actually, I said to my wife, I said at night when I walked by the caravan, I said, actually, I thought there was quite a few spectators there.
Yeah, when I looked at the car park,
to me, it looked quite good. And to be honest, around the track, when I went to watch, to me, there seemed quite a few spectators, but they were all in one part. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think what people are missing is the weather was really bad. Like
it was horrendous. Like I drove up on the Sunday morning, and we drove from here up to Fat Cats like 2 hours max, and we went through like all 4 seasons: snow, sleet, bit of sun, rain. It was horrendous. Like I saw videos of people coming down from the north, and it was like looked like the beast from the east was back. You're like,
but I think what people didn't realise, we got there Saturday to put the awning up at like 10 in the morning. Like no one could put awnings up because it was too windy. So we all went with easy ups because, you know, if we put the awning up, it was literally going to blow over. The wind was really that bad. And where Fat Cats is, it's kind of very flat next to the highway. So you can't stop the wind. So basically, no one had their awnings up because it was impossible. So, you know, I understand that point, like why there was no awnings up. And
but that was one of the things people were saying. It didn't look like the British Championship didn't look.
It was not possible.
The paddock didn't look pro, but just taking into account the factors of what was actually happening outside.
Yeah, the weather, I mean, to be honest, Fat Cats, like Martin from Fat Cats, I think Mike had a lot to do with as well. You know, the event run great. Neil did a great job getting the track. The track was in for the weather we had.
Yeah.
It could have easily been cancelled. We went back to, me and Neville were talking about 2012 when Osborne and Tonus were there. Like the weather was glorious.
Yeah, sunny day.
There were spectators there. And, you know, I don't know what the exact tickets were, but the spectators didn't look too bad to me. It didn't look like Hawkstone Park last year. Mm-hmm. There was more people there. And I think if the weather was nice, there would have been more people there. The awnings would have been up. It would have looked completely different. You know, it was either one of those, you don't run the event, or you run it.
You look back to last year and the first round didn't happen, did it?
That's it. The event run, there was good racing. Every race ran. For me, it was a good day. It got done. Like it could have not happened, and we'd have missed a round. So people want to be mindful that, you know, they can maybe criticise how many spectators were there and criticise how it looked, how the trucks looked. But if they actually knew the insight, you know, we're there to go racing. We're not there to look pretty or, you know, the pits. It's a big part of it. Don't get me wrong. For spectators to come look, I agree. It's got to look nice. You've got to have everything there. But the race ran. All the races ran. Track was in good condition for the weather we were given. So I would take it as that's the cards we were dealt that day.
It sounds to me like they needed a 2-stroke class to bring the vibe up.
They did. Yeah, they needed a bit of 2-stroke smelling. I was on a 2-stroke all day, so
let the wind.
Yeah.
The 2-stroke around the track. That's what it sounds like it needed, dude.
Mate, that would have been a slog on a 2-stroke around there.
Yeah,
I watched.
It would have been a nice sound.
Yeah,
2-strokes blowing up.
My 2-stroke was going right all day. It's going right perfect.
Yeah.
Nice smell.
Very good all day. Yeah.
Smell of premix, mega.
Yeah. So all in all, I thought I was in the media truck at, I think it was just after qualifying, and you're looking at the ACU guys look at each other and think, are we going to have to pull the plug on this? And then the range stopped and the first race got going and didn't stop from there. So I think we're lucky that it happened. We should be grateful that it happened, and like, let's just support British Motocross. And like,
I think there's too many people knock it, you know, like, you know, it is what it is. You got to either support it
or don't bother
going. You know,
like I said, you know, if I went to watch a British Championship or I went to watch, say, Superbikes or whatever like that, you know, maybe you know I'm wrong. Like, please tell me, guys. But I go there to watch the racing. Yeah. And to be honest, I was telling Neville on the way up here, I watched MX2, MX1. I watched more racing of them races than what I've watched in years. Because obviously last year with Bobby, years before with Neville, you do your race, you don't really see anything else. Where with Joel's race, it was kind of before the races, and by the time I watched the bike,
you had a bit of a gap. Yeah.
So I could actually watch a little bit. To be honest, I thought it was actually really good to watch. Like,
it was good, wasn't
interesting.
it?
The track was super technical, super rutty, and it fetched out the good riders. And to me,
even if surprises out there as well, like I mentioned, Jake Millward's riding at second.
Yeah, fantastic ride.
Like, that was insane. Like, whole shot.
Toomsy, dude. Fair play to Toomsy. Fair play.
Fair
like
play.
I've been riding with that guy since 2010, and to get a MX1 British podium.
But I spoke to Lewis Ling last round of the British Championship. I was talking what you're doing next year, and he's like, I don't know, I might quit.
Yeah.
I don't have anything lined up. And then for Jake to give him that,
Like
get him that ride, and then
deal.
last minute, and then get on the box. That's just awesome. That's an awesome story, isn't it?
But another funny story I'll tell you was Fat Cats. If you saw the track, next to the track, you've got where the water goes.
Yeah, that's where I was at.
I was at, and they were super deep. Like,
I
super
nearly
deep.
lost my shoes like 4 or 5 times.
Did you?
It was horrible.
That second race, Simpson just got the lead, I think, past Millward.
Yeah. And then Millward got back in front, right?
Well, what happened was Sean come up, and I was literally stood there, and he shot off the end of the track into this waterhole and kind of got on the back of the bike and kind of gassed it through. And I was like, my God, like, is he going to come out the other end? He did come out, but obviously he'd lost his position.
I saw a video of that.
And I was like, honestly, I don't know how he got through the water because it was
full
deep.
Commitment, that isn't it? Like, you don't know what's under there. Like, I was obviously on the infield filming, and you'd walk in, there's a puddle there, and you're like, I'll step in that one, fine. Step in the next puddle, and you're like up to your ankles, and you're like, oh shit, how am I going to get out
End
of
up
here?
in Africa.
Yeah.
Dude.
But he to just land in that puddle and full gas it. You don't know what's going to happen, do you?
But he damaged the rear brake on the start straight. So that's what happened. So basically his brake was working. If he touched it, it would like really stab, or then it wasn't there. So he basically had too much play in his rear brake, which I didn't know till the end of the race. And I obviously, they had to cut the line in the race to free the brake off, because he started jamming. And that's why he shot off. Because I remember watching him, where's he going? Because he kind of just shot off into the water, and I was like, God, he ain't coming out of there. And sure enough, he got it out. So fair play, you know what I mean? That was a pretty sketchy moment, that really.
Yeah.
Like when you say, like what you're saying with Cooper Webb, like when Lady Luck's on your side, like Sean was on a roll that day, like first race was unbelievable, 40 seconds in the front by the end of it, wasn't he? And then just kind of get away with murder there in that second one and still come away and win. Like, I think it's going to be a good season between him and Tommy once.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good, because Tommy was good in the second race of Fat Cats. So he just started getting his momentum going, and was starting to come on strong. So, they're both good. They're both good. It's going to be a good race all year with them two, because they're both fit, they're both committed, and they'll go every bit to win it.
Yeah. So let's jump straight into the main topic of today's show then. Who is the greatest motocross racer of all time? Now, originally we thought we'd have different opinions on this, as we're all from different generations. But just talking in the break there, that's not the case. We've all got the same one pick. So let's talk about the greatest racer of all time, and then we'll talk about greatest rider of all time, who's the best ever to swing a leg over a bike. Now, we've all decided between us, it was meant to be a debate, but it's kind of a one-sided thing. We've all decided Ricky Carmichael is the greatest motocross racer of all time. For you, Nev, why is RC the GOAT?
I just think because, like, the guy, like, no one ever consistently beat him, especially in the outdoors, you know? Like, in his rookie supercross in the big bikes, he had 2 years where he got beaten. Yeah. But outdoors, like, no one ever beat him. You know, in the 125 class, you know, they had, like, Volan could beat him every now and then. You know, but as soon as he went 250s, no one ever beat him. Like, I don't think there's anyone, and his whole career was like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, whole time.
I think he went 10 straight without being beat, didn't
he? Yeah, and he had those perfect seasons. And even when you went to the supercross, like, he wasn't the best supercross rider, but just his natural will and his work ethic, you know, that shone through, and he managed to win most of the supercrosses as well. Like, you put him up against Chad Reed when Chad was in his prime, Bubba when Bubba was in his prime, Wyndham, McGrath, like, those guys, you know, technically they were probably like a little bit better than Ricky was.
He was loose.
He's just an animal, dude.
The desire, wasn't it? He had.
I think it goes back to, like, also, like, if you look like the stuff that Swanepoel says, or like most trainers will say, like you give someone that wants to win. It's an easy job. It's not an easy job, but it's a lot easier job. Carmichael, dude, like I think that guy, he probably hated losing more than he actually enjoyed winning, and for that reason.
I've heard, I think it was Pastrana. I think I've heard Pastrana say that before. Like, that's why he quit motocross racing, because he hated losing more than he liked winning.
Yeah.
Then he sat back and like, what am I doing here? I don't actually like winning. I just hate losing. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. No, like for sure. I think, and also when the people that Carmichael beat.
Yeah, the lineup there. That was like a Mount Rushmore of all-time races that he's just like bang, bang, bang.
Like Kevin Windham on a 450 against Carmichael on a 252 stroke. You know, like you beat him 4 or 5 motos, but you know, like he got beaten once, and then you knew the next weekend Carmichael was just going to go in beast mode back home and come back, and he always did. You know, he never really disappointed where you thought, is he done? Like Carmichael never got to that point where you thought, is he done? Like he stopped racing before you got to that point.
For me, that's what makes Carmichael the greatest racer ever, because he just had the perfect career, like 10 straight outdoor titles, 5 supercross titles, did the business for USA and the Motocross Nations, and then retired on his own, kind of like, right, I'm done now.
Yeah.
I think he was 26.
And also, like, you know, like, it wasn't all like a fairy tale story for him. You know, those 2 years when he did struggle, dude.
Yeah, and then, in the supercross.
It was like, when he was number 9 on that Kawasaki, and he was, I remember when Albertine, when he jumped up in Albertine, like, almost took his head off.
People
in the
forget that.
Yeah.
When I'd grown up, the thing that got me into motocross racing, my dad got me a video for Christmas, and it was 2001 Supercross review.
Yeah.
And it was this season that Carmichael came good and beat McGrath.
Yeah.
And my favourite rider was McGrath, because first round McGrath won, and I was like, yes, he's my guy.
Yeah.
My brother was like, I'm going to wait, see who wins. And my brother was Carmichael, and he picked Carmichael.
Yeah.
And my brother's always like, Carmichael's been his guy.
Yeah.
But if I told him, did you know that he did 2 seasons before that and he didn't win? He'd be like, what?
Yeah. No.
He just, in most people's minds, he's always been.
Yeah, they forget the hard times. And also, like, a race that sticks out for me was when Windham and him did the East-West shootout in Vegas. And, like, Windham is probably one of the most talented riders ever to ride a bike. And he was, like, skimming the whoops and stuff. And Carmichael, like, cartwheeled 3 times. Because it was, like, the 2 coasts came together. You know, like, he won his coast, Windham. And then just on that night, he just... big crashes, you know, and to come, you know, like that sort of stuff, I think is what fueled him, you know, like as I said before, like that hurt that he felt when he lost, really, you know, not for sure, you know, he's definitely.
But I think there's 2 separate, like, I understand what you're saying about the best motocross rider ever. Yeah, I think it's very hard to say Carmichael is the best motocross rider ever. I think if you look at, you know, you're talking about Jeremy McGrath, Supercross, I still rate him probably the best ever. Like the guy was like king of Supercross. But Carmichael, you know, you weren't even probably born this year, but I'm sure it was. You probably were actually 2003. How were you in 2003?
I was 8, so I was well born there.
Okay, I was running we were running the cast team, me and Harry Ainsworth.
Dude, he has got hair on his chin.
And we went to a place. You may not have heard the race was in Zolder.
This MX is 2003.
2003.
Yeah.
Now,
wasn't it all a bit sketchy that year?
Well, Everts was like, he was the main man. Like, you kind of still now, people talk about Everts as the world's greatest. And he is a fantastic rider. You know what I mean? And yeah, he's one of the greats, you know, like Caroli. You know, my wife would kill me if I didn't mention Caroli, but he's also, to me, he's right there. But Carmichael, that day in Zolder, he blew everyone clean out the water.
Was that the year he was number 85?
85? 252 stroke. It was the debate of where people were going, 252 strokes are kind of dead, and Everts was on like the Yamaha factory Rinaldi Yamaha, and people are like, you know, he's the man. No one's going to beat him this day. If I remember rightly, Everts whole shot the race, or he was at the front of the race, he was leading the race. Carmichael, if I remember, the first lap was maybe 15th or 16th off the line. He come through everybody, caught Everts, went by him, and just won the race. Now that race, for me, is the best motocross race I've probably ever seen, where someone just absolutely annihilated everyone. Yeah. And, you know, and you could say, well, maybe the track suited him or whatever. I didn't see that. Like, the track was totally opposite to what he had. But that day, what he had that day inside of him, like, honestly, mind-blowing. And I think people I've mentioned that race now. Go on YouTube it. See how good he rode that day, and to me, amazing.
As a kid, I had a picture, like a poster of Carmichael on that bike, that number, just whipping it, like leaning off the side of it, like I've never seen before. I was like, that is my favourite thing ever. Like just leaning off it, whipping, and it was just like the coolest thing. And I always remember that picture from that day.
But dude, like you watch that race and Everts is like obviously how technical he is, carrying good corner speed, standing through the ruts, and all you can hear is Carmichael and around everywhere.
Those were the days. Like, do you know what we were saying about some of the guys each racing beating? Like you were saying about you watch YouTube all the time. The biggest few like motocross videos on YouTube were like Carmichael Stewart battles, right? Like just compilation of those things, and you watch them back, and you're like, that was sick. That was such a good time in motocross.
Hard work beats talent.
Yeah,
exactly there, dude. Like always at the end of the race. That's where it came down to, you know. But I think the gap, you know, like Stewart was obviously like a lot better than like same as the training with Carmichael. Like Carmichael was always the fittest, then that gap got closed. James Stewart was the best technical rider by a long way. Then that gap closes, you know, like.
So let's jump into it then. We kind of, the debate died at the start when we was going to debate the greatest racer of all time. So let's do the most talented rider then. Obviously, each generation's got their James Stewart. So. Basically, what started this debate was I was on a job a few months ago, and there's a little lad there about 7 or 8, and he was showing me this video, and he was like, "Look, number 4 racing, not Ronnie Mac," and I was like, "Number 4? You don't know who he is?" He was like, "Oh, he's just number 4." I was like, "That's Ricky Carmichael," and he didn't know, so that got me thinking like every generation's got their own like. It's kind of sad you forget they get the greatest of all time forgotten kind of quick, like he retired like not just a little bit over 10 years ago. And these kids don't know who he is.
Yeah, but you could go back to David Bailey and like you and me.
Yeah, me and Nev, we could say that as well.
But that just got me thinking. Every generation's kind of got their fastest man on the planet or their greatest racer. So that got me thinking, like, who for your generation when you was riding, who was the fastest man on the planet? Like, not necessarily the best champion or the greatest champion, but who was
Rob Herring probably. Like when I was coming back in the 90s, 91, like Robbie would do, like he was never the fittest, Robbie, you know, he'll hate me for saying that, and he'll maybe, that's not right, but I mean, Robbie had so much talent, and I believe that in the British Championship back in them days, he rode his level of fitness his level of his riding in corners, he was just on the edge of losing the tyre or losing the front wheel or going down, because he was carrying much more speed than what I was and other riders in the race as well. So Robbie in the British Championship back in them days had a lot of speed, and also in the World Championship he had probably one of the most talented guys in GPs. Just the problem was he crashed, and he crashed because the level he was going and the fluency he was riding caused that. And that still is the same as today. Like if you look at
Bubba,
exactly,
there was a stat I think in 2000, I think it was up until like 2010 or 2011, like he either won a race or he crashed. That was like the stat. Like it was 100% true. There wasn't a race that he just didn't win because he didn't ride as good as the front guy. It was either he won or he fell off. And that's what you're saying. Like if you're pushing that far, pushing the boundaries of the sport that far, it's inevitable. Really,
and normally when you saw a crash of say Stewart or Rob Herring back in the day, when you saw
not a little one.
Well, the half the rods, you'd watch the crash and go, what is he doing? Like, did he not see that coming? They're kind of going that fast. They actually don't see it because they actually don't believe they're going to crash. That's the way they kind of, their talent kind of give them that way. And another guy we haven't mentioned about who was ridiculously talented but injured himself, but he was probably not level, but like James Stewart kind of style was Robbie Reynard.
Like that, he was a little bit before my time, but like in the youth days on the 125, he was the next big thing, wasn't he?
Very. And
don't you think it's scary though? Like it's the really talented guys that don't win a lot.
It's because I don't think they actually they
take it for granted and don't work at it.
Well, they work at it. Don't get me wrong. Like Stewart for sure, Reynard, and even Herring, they did what they thought was right, bit of training. But I think they could never, you come into a corner and you think, right, okay, it's time to brake. He comes into the corner thinking 2 meters past us, it's time to brake, which then makes the risk of crashing more. And I think that's where riders don't really, and a lot of unfortunate riders as well. Reynard, multiple injuries, I think James Stewart, if you look at his schoolboy career, lot of injuries. Rob Herring, a lot of injuries. You know,
You look at Hurlins now, who's arguably the fastest. Well, not he. I think we'll all agree. Last year he was the fastest man on the planet. But look at him now. Like he's lost 3 world titles through to just
It's a
industry.
savage sport, man.
Because he's just pushing. I think Stuart raised the bar from Carmichael speed wise, and then from what I've seen, like Hurlins has raised the bar again, just how fast you can actually go on a motocross track.
Yeah, he's also, you know, his talent is massive as well.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the way he rides as well, his whole level of speed is like he's on a different
I think you change like
time frame. Do you know what I mean? Like the way he rides, and it causes injury. You know what I mean? Like it happens. You know, it's just unfortunate that, you know, there's many riders who we can talk about here who have the injuries. Like people are knocking Jeffrey for maybe riding too much, and it causes injury. That's the way.
That's why he is who he is.
That's the way he works. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
I think Jeffrey as well, like Bubba did it, changed the game with the scrubs and everything. I think you get that once every 10, 20 years. Like he changed the game. Like you go to Lommel and Corelli goes fast around Lommel, right? Like unbelievably quick around Lommel. But you watch Hurlins just go 3 seconds that quick, and you're like, how is that possible? It's because he just changed the way that you do it.
But I think a lot of the time, like I spent a bit of time with Bobby this year in Holland and stuff, and when you go to Lommel and you see that rider, like that ride, they go through stuff and they kind of but they go through it. They come into some bumps, the power they go in just takes them through that section. And I think a lot of strength is involved now as well. Like, you know, Hurlins rides a lot. I've seen some videos of him training, doing like box jumps and stuff. Like he puts a lot of work in. So I think physically he's a really strong kid as well, which that allows him to kind of push through stuff. And his whole stature, the way he's built, you know, he's much bigger than like Caroli. You know, and Caroli, to be honest, is really massively talented as well. Like, you know, fluent talented. You know, Caroli trains hard, but he's also got a nice, you know, he can ride the bike like really nice as well.
I think Caroli's got a good balance, eh?
Yeah, he's
good balance.
He's actually doing something right.
He's like, he's
when was his first season in GPs? 3, 4?
2004.
Yeah, he was, and I remember 3.
He didn't qualify in 3. Then
yeah,
4
he did.
was when he started. Because my first year over here was when he was 222 on that Yamaha with his teammates at Federici.
Yep.
He started a whole shot in and stuff.
And you think it's 2019 now, and he's still like
dude's a legend.
Favourite for the World Championship.
Legend.
Like,
and you know, like when he was racing with Jeffrey, like he's the only guy that could race with Jeffrey.
Yeah, he could raise the level up.
Yeah, and now, dude, he's like, if he needs to go more, for sure he can go more. 100%.
So is he your shout for the World Champion this year? One round.
Yeah, I reckon. Like unless he gets hurt or something, like the other guys will catch up because he hasn't got Jeffrey to put him along. But as I said, I do think he's got a lot left in the tank, and he's another guy that's hungry. You know, it's hard to beat someone. 100%. It's hard to beat someone that's that hungry. Like when he was getting beaten by Jeffrey last year, you could see it personally. And they were like 30, 40 seconds ahead of the next guy.
Yeah.
And you watch those guys on the TV like February and stuff, and you're like, man, how fast are these guys going?
Yeah.
And it's like a second and a half a lap to those two from this. It's actually mind blowing how quick they are actually going at the minute.
But I think, like, looking from the outside, from what I see, and I told Bobby this all year, and I worked a bit with Tommy in December. Like, these guys, their level of fitness has got to be really quite high, you know. And from what I've seen, the first Italian races already, Febra, fantastic rider, Geyser, fantastic rider. They just don't look as well prepared as what Caroli does, you know. And they've obviously put a lot of work in.
Yeah.
But whatever Caroli does, and we can't really say for Jeffrey, but for sure he's there. No, 100%. If he wasn't injured, you know, he's there. The amount of work Caroli, but I still don't think that class are as prepared or as fit as what Caroli is.
I think what a lot of that to do is like, so every year you do a base training thing, and every year you get like 5-10% better.
Yeah, because he's done been base there for 15 years.
10 years of base, building. And he's got to a point now where he's got such a massive base behind him.
Yeah.
You know, he's got so many, he's got like at least 6 or 7 years on all those other guys of base training. He knows when his body's tired. He knows what he needs on his bike. He's had the same team around him his whole career, so he's comfortable with that. He's got a girlfriend. Is he married?
Married,
He's got a wife, so his family life is settled. Mm-hmm. You know, and if you watch his documentary, like, he hasn't forgotten where he came from. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's that's a key thing with that guy. I think, like, he's never became a rock star. Like, he's got time for his fans. I think he's one of the coolest stories to come out of motocross ever.
You think? I'm just thinking about it. Is there a guy, a champion that's been at that level for as long? Because Carmichael's career was 10 years and done, right?
Everett's
How long did Everett's go for? Like, I know he won 10 world titles,
but Everett's missed a couple of years, which kind of he probably won't like me saying that, but he had 2 years where he's injured. I think he did his knee, if I'm right, and he might have done both his knees, so he missed like 2 years. He rode Husqvarna.
Yeah, the Husqvarna, he missed.
But he rode it one race, I think, and then that was the best way to get out of that. But I'm not knocking it, but at the time, the Husqvarna, how can I say, it didn't suit him that time. And he wasn't prepared, and he had to have, I think he had to have an operation. Was it on his elbow at that time? He had to have it rebuilt. So that was more of the reason his body really wasn't up for it. So, he had 2 years kind of off, which, fair play to him coming back. Like I said about the James Stewart thing, if you have time off, it's hard to come back. But he had 2 years kind of where he's injured, and then he restarted again and carried on. But I think also the level back in them days, you had different riders to what it is now. I think the whole level of riders, back in Everett's day, you'd have Everett's, Smets, like superb rider. Another guy we haven't spoke about who's like a legend really. He was fit, like always prepared, physically fit. He has more physical fit. He was more of a training guy, and then produced on the bike. You had Manic Bavutz, you had Albertine, all them guys back in them days, Tortelli. Mm-hmm. Where now you've got 10 guys in the World Championship. If you got them on a fitness test, I reckon the results would be pretty much the same. They'd be kind of level. There wouldn't be someone who's massive gap, where back in the day when, you'd have like guy in 10th in a 500 GP, their level of fitness would be completely different to the guy in first. So I think now it's a lot more level playing field.
It's harder now to be on top.
Well, you'd look at Caroli and Hurlins and kind of think, their level is just higher. It could just be, if you took Caroli and Hurlins out of the World Championship,
it would be like the Supercross now.
Yeah, it'd be one hell of a race. Cool. Do you know what I mean? But unfortunate for them guys, Caroli's there, Hurlins is going to be back soon. Do you know what I mean? And that's like every sport. Do you know what I mean? So,
every sport's going like you watch the MotoGP, the first 10 riders within 15 seconds of saying a dead race. Everything's evolved. The gaps between everything are a lot closer. Like at the GPs, like when I was doing GPs, like if you could get within 5 seconds, you're going to get through normally. Yeah. Unless it's a sand track now, dude, like the top 20 guys are 1.5 seconds between them,
Yeah.
Gaps between everything, motorsport all around the world is, like everything, it's got a lot closer, I think.
Yeah. And I think the level KTM have got now is massive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
They're everywhere though. If you look in the Supercross, like 1, 2, 3, like the third time this year.
Yeah.
That's got to be one of the most dominant displays ever, maybe since. Obviously, I wasn't there, but the Hondas in the 80s, I don't know how dominant they are. I didn't live through it, but like KTM now, you can't see an end to it, really, can you?
But I think KTM have just done their brand. They've built the brand up. Do you know what I mean? And the job they've done in building the bikes, they've just got the market.
I think the big thing with KTM as well is like what they develop on the bikes, they do actually put to the public for the next couple of years. It kind of got back to the time like when Grant and them were riding 125s, like unless, like it was, I suppose Masho did it 1 year in the Cowie, but if you were on a Tam KTM or a factory KTM 125, there was almost no chance.
Yeah.
Unless you were on one of them, the same as the 250F. Like you look at their World Championship now and like, if you're a good rider on a factory KTM or factory Husky, I think you've got a lot better chance than if you're on anything else,
And in America, they've kind of got the Alden Baker set up there, which Troy Lee are there. They're all under one roof. Like KTM have put big commitment to that, and it also shows they're doing the best for the riders they can. They're getting everything under control. They're making a big effort.
Yeah.
And so that's fair play to them as well. I mean that's moving forward for them, and that's why probably in the Supercross they're quite dominant. Do you know what I mean? Well, they're pretty much winning every race because they're doing that type of thing really.
So then moving forward, then who do you see? Obviously, what Caroli's got, I don't know how many years left he's got, but he's a couple of seasons max probably. Once he's out, and there's a kind of new era in America at the moment since Dungeon Villa have gone, like it seems to be a bit of like the Wild West gunslinging. Who's going to be the top boy? Who do you see as being the next Carmichael, or the next fastest man on the planet, the next greatest racer? If you had to put money on it,
What, in America or Europe?
just anywhere
In general.
Do you think
I would say
Prado's got what it takes to be the next?
Prado, like he's pretty solid to like win at such a young age and be so like, you know, like he's quite headstrong. You know, like he can go backwards and come back in motos. You know, like kids at that age normally they start going backwards, they hit panic mode and you know snowballs. But he seems to be able to come back. You know, obviously like he's working with the Carly. As I said earlier in the show, like if you've got someone like Neil or the Carly or someone like that nurturing, dude, it's just it's stuff money almost can't buy. You know. So he seems to have it pretty dialed. There's some good kids coming through. I like the way that number 19 kid in the Husky rides. What's his name?
TKO.
He looks so awesome, dude. Like I think
he's just like he looks like a pit bull on a bike.
Yeah, I think when he goes 450, like he's a bit big for a 250. I think in the way he rides a bike, I think he'll be good in a 450.
The Aussie kid was good. It was on
Mitchell
the podium.
Evans.
Yeah,
I didn't see that race, but
like he was third overall, and I think not where he's come from, like he's a name people have heard of.
Yeah,
but he rode really quite strong in Argentina, which was kind of a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, like no one really expected that.
Yeah,
and to come from one of those countries and do that and look like that is gnarly, eh?
Yeah, you know that the kind of what it's like making that move from down there up, and how different it is.
It doesn't really happen often, does it? Like. I mean, like normally it takes those guys like at least a season or two just to learn how to live in the country before they're comfortable racing.
If you look back, especially from Australia, you've got Reed that's done it. You've got a couple like Metty and Bernard. They made the jump, but in recent years, there's not been many kids from down that way, from South Africa that have made it stick here. Like you look at Ferris, like back in Australia, he's the man, isn't he?
Yeah.
But
Ferris is a weird one. Like at that Nations, I watched him, and dude, he was like pacing.
Germany, wasn't it?
No, at this last one in England, the muddy one in England.
I
was watching him, and he was like pacing the leaders. Like he was riding awesome. I think, like it's quite weird. Like if you watch it, like say if you come from Australia, like straight away, and you go to a race.
Yeah.
I think you can. I think it's easier to do well because, like as I said before, like when you riding that good vibe, like you're winning out there, you're the man out there, everything's comfortable, and you go do one race. You sweet.
Yeah.
But
it's when you
like when they moved their whole life here and they did seasons here, it looks like they struggle a little bit more because everything gets thrown. You know, you're living, you're traveling, the tracks, you know, everything changes. You know, like are you happy? Like your vibe, you're not hanging with your friends, you're not partying.
Look at Dave Forbes guy last year, Josiah Natsky.
Oh yeah.
He went home halfway through the season because he just weren't enjoying it, weren't happy. He's like, it's a big thing to move over here. Like, fair play to you for like coming over and just going for it.
Yeah, dude, it was hard though. Like I almost went home a few times. It's actually when I look back now, like me and one of my friends, we were in Scotland one day, and it all kicked off one day, and he went home, and I literally had a bag packed, and I was going with him, and he's like, and then we're walking out, and he said, "Come with me," and then as we were going out, he said, "No, stay, dude." And I'm like, "No, I'm going. I've had enough of this." And he said, "No, stay." And I stayed, and luckily, like within the next couple of weeks, things changed for me, and it turned good. But I was so like a few times, and also when you're injured, you know, and you're away, so like you had to ride motorbikes. That's the only reason you've come here. And then when you end up being injured and off the bike for like 3 or 4 months, then it makes it really hard.
Yeah, you don't have any friends or family.
Like I was quite lucky the way it happened with me, you know, like with the Motovision boys, they were like my family, you know, like it was a very family orientated team, and they know as much as what you would know about racing, where they did the videos and stuff. So I was quite lucky in that sense. And to be honest, like the world, like since I was like so young, that's all I wanted to do. So like I always had that big picture in the end, like no matter how bad things got, like I always had that in the end. And it worked out. Like I look, like when I was racing, like I never ever thought it was that good, like always wanted more. But now like I've kind of finished and I look back on it, like I can't, like literally I did like a training school thing, like a fundraiser thing. I got £700 from that. I got sponsored a plane ticket, and that's all I had.
And I came
2004. Yeah, so 3 I came over, and then for 4 came over with $700, dude. And my mum was like, just go do it, and managed to race out for 15 years on that, you know. So
that's pretty sick.
That's pretty impressive.
You know, like if you look back on it at the time, you don't really see you like that. But if you look back on like all the people you're racing against that like were bringing money into teams, and you know, and you were literally just like
$700.
Yeah, on your own. Like I remember going to Mildenhall once, and the mechanic gave me the wrong address. So dude, I drove past Mildenhall, ended up in Ipswich, and then I had to come back, and I didn't have enough money to go practicing because I had to put the extra diesel in to get back to the yard. So I literally had to drive straight back to the yard because I didn't have enough money after I put the diesel in to go practicing.
Yeah.
And shit like that, dude, it hurts you inside, but it's you kind of use it as fuel.
Yeah, it builds character.
Yeah,
builds
you know, to kind of
drive.
like this isn't going good at the minute, but
I think it was like that back in them days. Like maybe not so much in 2000, like when you come over, but back in the 90s, it was like that quite a lot. Like I remember you'd travel to say Italy to do like a GP, probably not qualify, knowing me, if I was lucky qualified, if it normally didn't qualify. You do them races, and if you didn't get your Swiss francs, like I remember pretty much like, you know, struggling to get money to go to the next race, or struggling to get bits. And I was fortunate, I had good people who helped me to do them races back in them days. But like, I think the level now, if you had £350 in your pocket tomorrow, you go to say Mildenhall for the day, you don't come home with much money in the end. Do you know what I mean?
You come home
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of changed a lot to what it was back in the day. Like even in 2000, like when you're about, you know, 2007, you know, the CAS team was running then. Yeah. You know, and I think now if we were to go back to World Championship racing myself, like get the CAS team going with Harry again, all that type of stuff, you just
it's a different
I
scene,
think you need millions.
It's a different scene altogether.
Completely changed.
Like now Coops has moved back and we hang out and we cycle like quite a bit together. Like he tells me story. Like that guy was finishing like 10th in the world. Yeah. And he's parked up in his van in the paddock with like an easy up, sleeping on the floor. Yeah. Dude, you imagine that now, finishing 10th in the world and Longo walking past your thing in the morning. He's like, my man, he's hey, you know what I mean? Like it's even from like, I think the last year I tried to do GPs was 2006. Yeah. And even from then, dude, it's a completely different sport. Yeah. You know, like you still had your privateers that would be like in their campers, you know, type of thing now. When like I haven't been to a GP for a while, but like it's just literally just like all. It's like big time, elite, you know.
When you watch that F1 documentary, they've got 10 teams. Yeah. And 2 drivers each, and that's it. It's getting towards that, isn't it? But go ahead, circling it back to the main topic. Then, do you think, like you say, working through those kind of hardships, like you were saying, coming over $700, or like Caroli coming from Sicily, like, and Stuart coming from where he came from, like, do you think that helps build a racer to be at the top?
Well, I think like if you go through all of that and you still race, so like whatever you're going
you want it then, don't you?
Yeah, you want to race, you know, like it's so easy. Like you wake up in the morning and you got no food and you got no money and you're like, I could go home and I could just ride out there and win out there or get a job out there and be sweet. But like you literally go without food because you want to ride your motorbike. That means you want to be here and you want to race. And if you want to do it, like you can always do it, you know. Like I'm a firm believer, like anyone, like even like say Joel, like he's young, he's got a massive talent. There's no reason why Joel can't be as good as anyone. Like if he puts his time in and he wants it bad enough, there's no reason why that kid can't be a world champion. As long as he follows the process and puts his time in and he wants to do it. You know, that's the biggest thing is if you want to do it. Like if you hell bent on it, for sure you find a way to do it, you know, especially like if you've got a bit of help coming through. So I just think like if you want to do it, like you'll find a way, you know, and it's something like we wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got the talent and not talent, if you've got the will to do it, it's like everything. If you've got the will to do it, you can go out there and do the best you can. You know what I mean? If your best you can is winning or it's 5th, for sure you can go do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's no, if they want it, it's going to happen. Yeah. It'd be very easy to pack your bags and go home and say, oh, I didn't make it. But if you go there, if you're prepared to work, like back in the day, people would work and ride their bikes. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit different now, professional riders, but yeah, I'm a big believer in what Neville's saying. If you want it, you just got to go there and take it.
But it's just like a lot of kids that like Grant was the same, you know. Grant, dude, like that guy, like what he did, like I think what I did was pretty cool. But then when you put into perspective what he did, like it's just another level altogether, you know. Like that guy's like won everything. Yeah. And came from Durban, like, and we raced together growing up. You know, and like he made it to that level. I made it to like, you know, like kind of like sort of like England. Yeah, like top 3 in England. And then you see a guy that like wins in South Africa all the time that beat you growing up and then they get you at the same time and you lapping them within a year and you think, how does that happen? And I think it all boils down to like, this has to happen for me. and maybe because he's got some money and he's got opportunities back home, it doesn't have to happen for him. So I think you need that massive desire to like go from being like even like a 15th place British Championship rider to a top 3 rider. You know, you've got to have that massive one, otherwise you'll just get to 10th, and if you're happy with 10th, you're never going to finish 7th or 6th or 5th. It's all about where you see yourself, you know.
Well, what's his name? I spent a bit of time back in the 90s with Greg Albertine. Like, he had will, like, desire, like, quite high. Like, he just come here and said, right, I'm going to be world champion. And pretty much he conquered that in the second year, I think, of being here. You know,
South African people are very like that. Even when I go back now, they're very like, not arrogant, they're very like headstrong and stubborn.
Yeah.
And that's why they're very good sports people. Like, I think with the weather being good, everyone's like quite upbeat. But it is like real gnarly, dude. Like, they do kind of like believe in like the hard work thing, and like kind of like set goals for it, you know.
Yeah.
Like we were saying earlier, like, you know, Neil, we went back to like the most talented riders in your era, like my era. Like, obviously, like you're gonna say James Stewart, like it's a no-brainer. But for me, there was a guy growing up. His name was Jared Diago.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember Jared Diago? Like,
do,
that kid was unreal. I think he was 13 on a 125, and he's winning races in South Africa. He came to Europe. He had a couple of years in Europe. I think he was 15, and he rode a Kawasaki in Germany and finished 7th in a moto at 15 years old. And then he did a year back in South Africa, and like Ryan Hunt was like, he'd just come back from England. He was like miles better than anyone. And I remember the first race was at his home track in Durban. He was like 6-7 seconds a lap quicker than anyone.
Was he?
Like, it was unbelievable. But like, that guy, even when Grant used to come back, Grant was world champion at this time. Like, he won his world championship. And when Grant came back, like, Grant would battle to beat him.
Yeah.
And you just think, like, talent-wise, like, like, it was just like, especially with the 125 era, like, the kid was like 14 on a 252 stroke Suzuki, like, making people look stupid, you know. You know, like, just like that talent was unbelievable, you know, like, talent. And it's so cool to see, like, Wyatt Avis was another one, dude, like, on his day, like, you watch that video when he jumps past Porcel at Falcon Swat, like, on his day, man, like,
he could twist
the
it.
talent on a guy like that is just unreal.
But that's like every sport. Like, I generally believe that, you know, you could put, like, there's some car driver out there, you could put him in a Formula 1 car, the right car, and he's going to be at the front of the race because he's got really good, but he'll never get that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And maybe the Jaguar, I think he might have done some races. Maybe, was he with Jan de Groot maybe, or it never happened?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
You know, if you maybe put that guy in the right environment, he could have won the races.
Could be world champion.
Yeah.
Like Chad Reed come straight to Europe and rode for Jan de Groot.
Yeah.
And I think he went second in the world that year. I saw him, that first race he come to, it was in, I'm sure, Zurich Supercross. I remember watching practice, and he like did this section. I was like, geez, who's that guy? And it was obviously Chad Reed. I was racing there as well myself, riding, not racing. And basically the stuff he was doing in the main event, I was like, this guy's like somebody real special. Yeah. And Jan de Groot signed him, and that year he went from, I think he may not have qualified the first GP, something like that. Then he qualified the next GP and finished second in the world that year. And I think at Lierop he gave Pichon a run for his money. I think, if I'm right, give him a run for his money, that GP. So he went from just to amazing, you know, the talent. He had the right team with de Groot at the time.
And wanted it bad. I remember Grant was at my house, and Grant had just won the world championship, and he was talking about this, because like even before he went there was like talk about Chad Reed, and I had a friend that was living in Australia, and he sent a video of one of the supercrosses. Yeah. So Grant was there, and I was like, oh yeah, check this out, dude, this guy's awesome. Like, check, because Travis Pastrana went to Australia and did a supercross, and he stuffed him, dude. Like, nailed him like a few times.
Travis,
Chad Reed did, and like the jumps were like old school, like you know when they were
like,
I think I remember that.
They were gnarly.
It was just Reed and Pastrana were the only ones hucking these triples and literally like downsloping them. And I showed Grant, he's like, oh yeah, dude, and just took off like that. One year in Europe, and then
never looked back.
He went the year after year. He never looked back from that. You know, from that first day of coming over, he just went.
He's got, to be fair, we didn't even mention Reed in the conversation, like greatest races. Like, he's had one hell of a career, isn't he?
Yeah, he's another great.
But it's a pity, like he was in the Carmichael era, you know, like everyone says it, and in the street, dude, like two people, like it's the same as you say, like if Hurlins and Corolli went there, like February would be the man.
Yeah, imagine Wyndham must feel like that.
Yeah.
Like we're saying, one of the most talented guys ever swing a leg over a bike, and won an East Coast to West Coast championship on a 125, and then didn't get a title after that, and you're like, but still,
scary,
like.
But one of the only guys to beat Carmichael straight up, like on quite a few occasions.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Well, on that note, then let's wrap it up. Then that was quite fun. I quite enjoyed that, lads.
Yeah.
So we'll try to do it again each week. Bring a new topic. Nev, where can everyone find you online? At Nevster272, right?
I'm in Hardy now, dude. Find me
In
now.
Hind.
No, I'm joking. What's Instagram? Nevster272. Yeah.
And then,
Facebook Nev2, and then training schools is 272 Race School on Facebook if you want to check that out.
you're pretty flat out with that, ain't you?
Yeah, like the academy's going really good. I pretty much, I just had a message pretty much until August, So my
Flat
calendar's full with the training, which is really cool to help the kids get to where they want to be.
And Neil is our resident old man, so he doesn't have any social media.
Catch me
Doesn't know how to work.
Catch me into the RFX, KTM, powered by PAR Homes, awning most weekends,
And-
looking after Joel's bike.
Yeah, Joel Rizzi, who we've name dropped a couple of times. He sat out there watching. If in case you was wondering, he's our 125 hero at the moment. Isn't he?
We need to ask Joel. Who's your best guy of all time?
Jump in, Joel. He's not even out there.
Yeah, he has been watching.
He's probably on his phone.
Yeah.
You bored him out.
Yeah.
Tinder, innit?
Is he asleep on the couch out there or what?
Just, you have to just watch as you walk through. You weave your way through there, go around, standing back.
He's watching the boats
Yeah,
crashing.
he's addicted to the boats.
So
and watching
I
them.
reckon we have a bet. I reckon he's gonna go herding.
He goes around
Yeah.
to backs.
Yeah.
No, I reckon he'll go his dad.
So
Who's your
Joel,
favourite rider?
best racer of all time in your opinion?
Erland.
Oh, no. Oh.
I'll get the beers in next time then. Nice one, Joel. So yeah, that's a wrap for the first episode of The Plug. Cheers to Nev, Neil, Joel for jumping in there at the end, and we'll see you next week. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and all that stuff. Catch you again.